So let's start by settling the body in a stable, comfortable, upright position. So keep our feet flat and our back straight, torso open, hands in the lap, right over left, with the palms upturned and the thumbs gently touching. Our eyes are very gently closed or slightly open. Allowing the body to settle without rigidity. Trying to focus on having a stable, upright spine. Trying to avoid slouching or leaning. Then try to move your awareness from attending to the outside world to being constrained to the body and mind. Letting go of sending out your awareness to sights and sounds, smells or sensations from the outside world. And instead trying to hold your attention to the one sensation of the in-breath and the out-breath in the area around the nostrils. Noticing quickly when anything other than that sensation arises in the mind, without judgment or frustration, lifting your awareness from that distraction and gently placing it back on the breath. And then when the mind feels more stable, generate a broad altruistic motivation for your time, wanting to connect with your own good qualities and reduce the tendencies and the habits that give rise to your own suffering and can motivate actions that cause suffering for others. Thinking that this is our contribution to the well-being of others. And today we'll engage in a variation of the meditation on rejoicing. We'll focus on rejoicing as an antidote to jealousy today. The other way that we typically do the practice is to recognize and rejoice in the good qualities that others have. But we can also use it, this attitude of rejoicing. We can cultivate it in a way that cuts through the covetous mind, the greedy mind, and expands, in a way, goodwill toward all sentient beings. We can start by bringing to mind a situation, perhaps a memory, but if not, an imaginary situation in which someone that we're fond of, close to, tells us of something beneficial that happened to them recently. Maybe they got a new job or a promotion, or they were able to get some object that helps them in some way, a new car, something where they feel like their quality of life has improved. And they're just happily telling us this story. So imagine that scenario. Notice what your mind spontaneously is doing. Do we find it quite easy to have a sense of sympathetic joy. Are there even perhaps situations or specific objects or scenarios that, even if we're quite close to the person, we still spontaneously think of, well, I wish that had happened to me instead? In a way, might it depend on what they're telling us? Try to investigate what the mind does in 2 or 3 different scenarios when the person is someone that you're quite close to. If there were examples where you found it easy to have a sense of sharing in their delight, notice how in those moments the mind is lighter, more joyful, and how if there were scenarios where your thought, your reaction was that you had hoped that it would have been you, notice how in those moments the mind is tighter, deprived of that benefit, of that light, open, joyous mind. And then imagine that someone you know very little, maybe someone who just lives down the street, stops you on your way to work, or your way to the store, to share some good news. Notice if you have even more difficulty feeling that sense of sympathetic joy. Is there a kind of disinterest in their life? Do we see them in that moment as just an obstacle to doing what we want? Try to investigate why there might be a difference. This person we've barely spoken to hasn't ever benefited us, hasn't ever demonstrated that they are like us in any way. And are those the only reasons that we let them kind of fade to the background? Is there any real difference between our dear friend and this person we don't know? Try to think back to that benefit of allowing the mind to generate sympathetic joy. Try to imagine what it would be like If we tried to cultivate it in that moment, and then imagine that someone who irritates you, so someone you do know, and someone who kind of rubs you the wrong way. Imagine that this person stops you in the hallway at work or outside your door to share something positive that happened to them. And try to notice what the mind does. Do we have the least amount of interest in this scenario? Investigate if that is only or predominantly because we feel like this person has acted perhaps against our interests. And does that take into account their fullness as a sentient being? Is that a reasonable basis for relating to them distantly? Again, try to notice if that reaction is pleasant or unpleasant, peaceful or disturbing to the mind. And try to imagine what it would be like if you intentionally tried to cultivate that reaction that you've seen in your own direct experience is more open, more pleasant. And then when you're ready, we'll come back together. And we'll dedicate. So recollect your altruistic motivation and think that by engaging in this contemplation, you've actualized that motivation, and the positive energy that you've created in doing that, the fruit of your practice you offer freely for the benefit of all sentient beings, not holding on to it at all, but thinking may it ripen in whatever way is beneficial for sentient beings. Thinking may this energy serve as a cause and condition for the arising of the state of enlightenment in the minds of all sentient beings. And the arising of the mind of enlightenment in my own mind as well, in order to provide me with the ability to benefit sentient beings perfectly without mistake. May it pacify any obstacles to the Guru's long life. And may I and all sentient beings come under the care and the guidance of the enlightened beings in this moment until we each swiftly achieve a state of enlightenment. Thank you.